Well, let me introduce my guest to you. I have, seated on my left, I have Ibrahim-Tanko Amidu, who's the Executive Director of Star Ghana Foundation. Good morning, sir.
Good morning.
You're welcome.
Pleasure.
It's good to have you here.
Good to be here too.
And I have my other guest seated, Yaro Kasambata, who's a lecturer in Security and Intelligence Management at UPSA. Good morning, sir.
Good morning.
How are you doing?
Good.
Fantastic. It's good to have you here.
Good to see you.
Yeah. Have I seen you this year?
No, I've been here.
You've been here, but have I seen you this
Well,
year?
yeah.
I think
you hosted me here.
I think we've talked. We've been on the show before.
3 weeks ago, I was here.
Okay. All right.
Yes.
Memory
yes.
lapses.
Yeah. No, you have a lot on your mind. So.
All right. So let's get into the first story for the day. Unresolved murders in Ashanti. Killing of nurse raises fresh concerns over security in the region. Let me get into I'll read the stories here, and then we'll position ourselves to have a conversation. So the first one I want to read, and I'm not going to read the whole thing, is on citinewsroom.com. Unresolved murder cases in Ashanti region. I do not control law court, says the regional minister. The Ashanti regional minister, Simon Osei-Mensah, has said he cannot be held responsible for unresolved murder cases in the region. According to him, the law courts are handling these cases and should be held accountable. What has been the cause of death of the people who have been killed? Is a question he's asking. Some are family issues. We don't bundle all those with the other ones that have different causes. Those that were between husband and wife, the cases are in court. I do not control the law court. So once the issue gets to the law court, it is the court that handles it. So if you want to find out why the cases have been unresolved, you call the court, he said. The minister, who is also the head of the Ashanti Regional Security Council, further indicated that he cannot be held responsible for the security of residents in the region. These are things which are not easy to control. We cannot check everybody's house. What we have to do is the general security situation. It is not the responsibility of the council to fix the security problems of families in their homes. Yaro, as somebody who is very interested, vested, and teaches security and intelligence, what is your take on this? His comments initially regarding the security situation, and then we'll come back and look at the general situation in the region.
Well, I think he could have put it better. He could have put it better. Security is a shared responsibility. And so if he had even said that security is a shared responsibility, everybody has a role to play. The police alone can't solve crime.
I agree.
In fact, in most countries where crime have been successfully resolved, it took the organization, the police service of that country, citizens' awareness, the judicial system, the entire environment, the infrastructure, the technology and everything put together. So it's a shared responsibility. If you say that it is not the responsibility of the Regional Security Council to fix people's security problems in their homes, then it shifts the discussion to a very fundamental issue, which then takes us to examine the reason why things are the way they are. Okay, we need to get our people in authorities to understand the scope of their responsibilities, what they are supposed to do, and where their job stops and where the citizens right begins. You are the administrative head of the region. Whatever goes wrong, it's in your hands. Whatever goes right, it's in your hands. You need to rally people around and get them to assist, to get things done. So that if there are crime, rising in the region and we need to find a way to solve it and bring it down, there is a way you put it to start the rallying call. But if you begin to, apportion blames and, put the, situation squarely at the doorstep of, people's personal responsibility, then if they come to tell you that, well, I'm taking my security in my hands, so I'm going to arm myself. When people begin to think that the state can't take care of them and they must take care of themselves, they might do things and in the process even break the law. You will end up having a very lawless environment. So I think the minister could have put it in a better way. We have crimes rising. We have to admit that we have a problem. We have the police having a very low success rate of clearance. I mean, turning crime around, resolving the issues, finding the killers, putting them before court. The judiciary, it's a slow grind, having to process the case, examine the evidence, and then apply the law, put the culprits away or acquit them. It's another, section or department of our, criminal environment, or our I should say the justice system. Okay, so that when a crime is reported, the police, comes in, the process, the scene. If they find, culprit or suspect, they put the case before the Attorney General. The Attorney General takes the case now to court, and the court now takes over. Now, we need to even begin to examine how our court work. What are the things that are slowing down the court processes? Manual, data entry and all these things, so that we can court automation and get things to speed up. How information is stored. You don't have to go look for files on crimes 10 years ago, and somebody has to climb a ladder and be looking for dusted files and all that. By this time, we should be digitizing data so that if I'm looking for a case in, let's say, January of 10 years ago, I put in the month, I put in the year. So you have a limited data to scan through. This is how we can help improve. So you may see murder on the rise, low success rates. In between, you have infrastructure issues. You have things that we need to do to improve the system. We have a way to harness our justice system to grind in the way that we want. Because after all, we are constructing a social order. We don't want an environment where crime is high, crime is unresolved, people feel insecure. Then they begin to take the law into their own hands and do things that break the law. In the end, they create more insecurity. So I think Mr. Minister could have put it better. And going forward, we could begin to address some of the fundamental issues that hamper the smooth administration of justice in this country, the effective management of crime, and the police itself.
What do you think accounts for the police's low turnaround in resolution?
A number of factors. I mean, see, before you even come to the police, sometimes when a crime is reported, by the time the police arrives at the scene, the crime scene is defiled by curious neighbors, shocked neighbors, people who are just out there to look at something. They defile the crime scene. So the police arrives. By the time the police is actually attending to the crime scene, they have a lot of work to do in trying to decipher which object lying on the scene it's a crime or it's part of the crime, or which ones have been brought there.
But Yaro, I mean, if I understand what you're saying, but I'm also somebody who has been very fascinated with crime investigation, and then I'm asking myself that if for example, the police arrive at a crime scene, were there people there already that are onlookers? What are the questions that you ask to determine what has actually taken place since human beings started arriving on the scene? Because I think that also helps to then place, based on 3, 4, 5 different accounts you hear, you can pretty much decipher what's happened since the the criminal fled the scene, what changes have taken place?
Yes.
I don't know if that makes any sense.
You know, it makes absolute sense. The point I was hoping to, draw attention to with the issue I raised about defiling the crime scene is to get citizens educated.
Okay.
The citizens must know that when you report a crime, you must not, out of curiosity, attend to the crime scene yourself. And in the end, a footprint could have solved the problem.
Okay.
But then you have gone to plant your footprint on that footprint.
Several footprints.
And now we can't even tell who, which one. So, I mean, patterns are destroyed. So if we begin to also alert, citizens that when you chance upon a crime scene, they don't, out of curiosity, overreact and go there and start touching things and start moving, things, moving the body. And all that could have, been the code that broke the case was maybe a pen head.
Yeah.
And you might have picked that pen head out of, curiosity, or you don't even know that a pen could even solve a crime. Yes. So then we need the citizens to also appreciate that fact. We need the police to improve on competence. We need the police to improve on logistics. We need the judiciary to also improve on competence, logistics, how they even interpret forensics, how we apply forensics to solving crime, even lawyers appreciating forensics and how it works in dealing with crime, so that in the end we have an entire justice system grinding a bit faster. Because mind you, even if you have a growing crime rate and you have the police attending to it in a way that they produce results faster, it goes a long way to build confidence in the system than having the crime rise and having its success dwindling, if anything at all.
Okay. All right. Thank you. Mr. Amidu, the from an administrative and governance perspective, what do you make of what's happening in the Ashanti region? Now, I know that across the country there are other murders that have happened and so on, but we are, the spotlight is now on the Ashanti region. We are looking at, in the last possibly under a year, 7-8 murders that have taken place. And there hasn't really been much traction in terms of resolution to any of these. What do you make of where we find ourselves right now?
Well, thank you very much. I think it's a very worrying situation. Whether it's Ashanti, Upper East, Volta, it is worrying because every citizen is entitled to the protection of the state, to the right to liberty, to free movement, etc. And I think that if we have noticed a trend in the Ashanti region, for example, this is where then the state apparatus needs to mobilize everything, intelligence, police, citizens, etc. First, to seek to understand why, and secondly, to seek to address the issues, so that it takes more than the police, it takes more than the citizens. What are the national security, etc.? What are they doing? Because this is where we need to have a more coordinated approach to solving this. And just to touch briefly on the issue of the minister's pronouncements. Coming in, I was listening to your intro remarks, and one of your colleagues mentioned the issue of emotional intelligence. It's really, really critical, particularly for leaders. Sometimes the way the message is delivered is as important as the message itself. That's number one. That you might deliver an unpleasant message, you might deliver a difficult message, but in a way that makes people to understand that something is being done, bear with us, etc., etc. But you don't deliver it well, you even
aggravate the situation.
And this is not the first time. Decades back, we had a head of state, who burst out in frustration. And you don't inspire confidence. We don't expect the head of state to command the reins to calm down, but we expect the head of state to tell us what measures they are putting in place in case there's drought. Likewise, we don't expect the regional minister to go around solving the problem
in everybody's house,
but we expect the regional minister to assure us that the state machinery is being mobilized to ensure that this is done. And I think not to begin to distinguish or differentiate citizens. Every citizen is entitled to the protection of the law. Whether the person is a prostitute, allegedly whatever, let the law deal with that part of the person's behavior or occupation that may be illegal. But in terms of the right to life, your profession should not be a basis on which you decide whether this person needs to live or not. And then I think the issue around the police and the management of, crimes. First, the issue of communication with citizens. I understand, from what you read, that the police are declining to comment for now. But I think it is through communicating with citizens that you might be able to jog somebody's memory. I saw this lady walking here and there were two people. I'm going to. So that whole thing about building the trust between citizens and the police is very important. And trust is predicated on what? Communication. Of course, my brother Yaro mentioned the issue about the judicial system. And I think that's also quite important because even if the police were to apprehend the culprits today and send them to court, and it's going to take 4 or 5 years to adjudicate.
But what's the challenge here, though? What is it that makes it drag? And is there no way that we can speed things up? I mean, I remember under President Kufuor's tenure, for the driver courts, they created a fast-track court system. That even sometimes within a day, you have cases sorted out. Is there no way we can speed up the process?
I think there are ways in which, because for me, this is such a complex issue that there isn't one silver or magic bullet that would solve it. One, the State Attorney's Department or the Attorney General's Department. To what extent are they resourced, equipped, motivated enough? Because we read about adjournments on the basis of the fact that the attorneys didn't turn up, etc. The police, sometimes we hear that, the ways in which they process the cases for court are such that they have to be told to go back and do this, etc., etc. The police prosecutors, do they have the skills? The courts themselves, how are they set up? I remember Danida, the Danish government, invested a lot of money in the computerization and etc., all in an effort to speed up. So I think it's a lot of, pieces of the puzzle that need to be brought together, but a coordinating point so that we don't have all these things happening without recourse to each other. Else, these reforms will not complement each other, and at the end of the day, we won't get the benefit. Because it's really sad to see a judge or a magistrate sitting in court and writing longhand, how does the person follow it? And as a result, confidence in the system is going down. I mean, just very quickly mentioning the issue of Major Mahama. The outrage that greeted, the murder of Major, the cries for revenge, etc. How many years down the line, the case is still plodding through the court system? And you think next time people would have the confidence to say, we're going to cooperate with the system. So I think it is in our interest as a nation to ensure that justice is delivered expeditiously and also fairly.
All right. Well, we're going to take a short break. Please don't go anywhere. You're watching Citi TV. We'll be right back. All right, welcome back. And remember, the hashtag is Breakfast Daily. The WhatsApp line is on your screen, +233 550 585 And we want to continue our conversation and get into this subject. The Vice President is going to have a town hall meeting today. Let me just quickly read a story from citynewsroom.com, and then we will have a conversation about that. Baumia to account for MPP's promises at February 11th town hall meeting in Kumasi. Vice President Dr. Mahamadou Baumia will on Tuesday, February 11th, that's today, address a town hall meeting in Kumasi in the Ashanti region. The meeting will focus solely on updating Ghanaians on the fulfillment of government's promises and commitments made ahead of the 2020 elections. It will be recalled that in the 2016 manifesto of the NPP, it committed to 388 promises. President Akufo-Addo last year tasked the Office of the Vice President to lead an exercise to produce empirical data on the status of these 388 promises the then candidate and now President Akufo-Addo made to the people of Ghana. Addressing journalists in Accra on Sunday, the Minister of Information, Kojo Nkrumah, said, having completed the exercise with the approval of Cabinet, Dr. Bawumia will lead the town hall meeting that will provide bullet-by-bullet details on the performance of the administration in fulfilling its manifesto promises. Mr. Nkrumah said the exercise will be heavily data-driven and the data will be available to the Ghanaian public and other stakeholders. All right, let me start with you, Ibrahim-Tanko. The promises were made, 388. All well and good. Now, 4 years to deliver on the promises. What can we expect to hear from the town hall meeting? That is one question. I think I want you to precede that with how important is it to have these kind of communication platforms to let the citizenry have a clear understanding of what it is that government is actually doing?
Yeah. Well, I think it's extremely important. It's the basis on which democracy thrives. It's the basis on which democracy survives. That the leaders are accountable to the citizens, that we have the opportunity to ask them, not just to wait 4 years when we're about to vote, you tell us you've done this, but at a continuous dialogue that enables us to find out what is being done, why it's being done that way, and what could be done better. So I think it's very useful, necessary, and more of it should be done by everybody.
Okay.
That's one level. But I think for these things to be effective, first, we've talked about the right to information, because we also need to have access to the data and to be able to interrogate it. There is so much that the human mind can absorb at a sitting.
Yeah.
So if there is a forum, and we are talking about 300 and how many? 88 promises, that your presentation will be data-driven. At my age, how much data can I store in my head, at a sitting and be able to interrogate? So I think one is, why not make this available before? And that enables a constructive engagement.
Okay.
So I think that is really important. The format I've had occasion to question, not just under this government, but the previous ones, because it soon degenerates into almost a rally. Because you have those in the room there who clap and cheer at
everything,
and that really negates the point. You could organize something for your foot soldiers and etc., and have that cheering party going on. But I think if you want a constructive engagement, it needs to be moved out of that and be able to. So who comes in, how it is organized, I think it's important. Okay. But my fundamental point is that this is a good thing. More should be done at all levels and for all citizens.
It's a very interesting point you raised there. To not to fill the room with the yes men, as it were, who, regardless of whatever you say, they will not question or interrogate anything. They will clap and they will hail and make all the noise. What do you think we'll see today?
Well, I would see attempts at justifying or justification. I'm not sure I will see much in the of rebuttals.
Okay.
Except that it is set up in such a way that it enables people to really question what he's seeing. But I think a lot of it would well, election year, accountability is usually...
Okay. Yaro, your perspective on this matter, I do agree with Ibrahim-Tanko on the issue of you can easily it can become like a political rally, almost in a scaled down version. But how do we take some of these opportunities and turn them into galvanizing grounds for good governance as opposed to for politicking?
Well, I think much of what we have been up to in this country is more of the politicking than good governance. I mean, I look around and sometimes I hardly even see good governance.
Some people say, how do you have good governance without politics?
Oh, no. They are two separate things.
Okay, take us into that.
They are two separate things. I mean, politicking and good governance. Governance is the way you function. Politicking is just offering options.
Okay.
Look around you. And, from waste management to traffic to crime to everything, governance is the way you function. Look around you and apply this definition to the things you see. How are you functioning?
Okay.
I mean, the politicking is the opportunity to give legitimacy to government. So you have a body of elected people who go to office, they form a government. But governance, as in the process of how things are done, it's even often separated from government as a body of institution that exists. So you can have a body of institution that are functioning poorly. Okay. So you can have government is legitimate, but they are functioning poorly. So politics, government, governance are all the same thing. We often lump them together in the heat of the argument. Things can, we can lose sight of these, details. But we've got to focus more on impact as opposed to output. Okay. 380 promises. I have done 200. Hey, let's measure the impact of what you've done, not output. But I'm sure...
Okay, you go.
Wait. I'm sure that your CEO here is looking more for impact than output.
Yeah, okay.
Impact is that you showed up in the morning for a morning show. You have come. All the cameras here are all elements of output. You have come. But the impact is what you do, how you do it, the result that is achieved, the bottom line. So if everybody keeps showing up in the morning, they sign a book, I was here 5 a.m., and Citi FM bottom lines are still dwindling, and you can't pay bills, your CEO is seeing the impact and say, hey guys, we can't be showing up here 5 a.m. in the morning, and all our produce and everything we do, don't get bought, and we can't pay the bills. Our impact, down the line is not, encouraging. So I think we can move on beyond the output. We've done 200 out of 300, and then measure the minute impact of what we do. We've talked about unemployment. We can say we've created 100,000 jobs. Subtract that from the jobs that have been lost through the banking sector, and even that alone can give you an idea of the net job creation that you are looking at. What is the impact of that on livelihood? What is the impact of that on the general economy? When we've done these things, it gives you a more scientific approach to examining how a government has functioned. And then these are high standards issues where you can give yourself a target that is a burden. You put on yourself a burden of high performance, and then when you have been able to satisfy a certain degree of it, you can rally your citizens around it and say that, look, in view of the challenges and what we've been able to achieve, giving another opportunity at improving X, Y, Z, I think I can do a bit more. This is, I think, where we can begin to draw the lines and then see, okay, from your output, we can measure impact. From your, from government, we can measure governance. We see how we function around, and then we can begin to see how we do. But, well, to, speak to what he will say, much later, today will be an exercise of
futility.
in futility. Let's hear what he says this afternoon. It will be good to hear some of the things that he will be talking about, and then we can begin to measure the impact thereof.
Okay. Ibrahim-Tanko, I want to ask something about the issue of governance structures that prevent effectiveness and efficiency. I am not a governance expert by any stretch of imagination.
We all are.
But I wanted to know from you what you think in terms of, or what your observations have been in terms of looking at the way our governance structures are there ways we can improve the systems that will increase efficiency and accountability? I'm more interested in the accountability aspect because it looks like there's always somebody looking for a way to pass the buck to somebody else and say, "Yeah, but you should also have done it, or you could have done it." So
I think just building up on what Yaro said and around governance institutions. I mean, in terms of the system structures, processes for accountability, we have the formal ones that are detailed in our constitution, etc. But we also have the less formal ways of exacting accountability. I mean, either citizens decided that we wouldn't vote, or we would vote this way, or no electricity, no vote, that kind of thing. But I think in terms of the formal systems, the Constitution envisages, a separation, as it were, of powers between parliaments, the executive, the judiciary. We have the media and civil society almost as countervailing, forces to try and then ensure that there's accountability.
Yeah.
If you examine the relationships, first between parliament and the executive, even if it was not stated clearly, the reality is that Parliament has not been able to perform its oversight functions as effectively as it should. One, this whole thing about, the majority of the president's the ministers coming from Parliament just means that people spend their time trying to catch the president's eye, to ensure that either you get a juicy position, board, etc. And, without mentioning names, we have seen parliamentarians who have attempted to take their governments to task. And what happened to them in the Fourth Republic? So we need to look at parliaments. How do we support parliament to be more effective? Not just in the relationship, but also in the way in which it is organized. We've seen and heard of complex contracts, agreements passed within a day. And you wonder how many of the MPs would have actually been able to understand
what was going on.
Other parliaments have what they call the scrutiny officers, which are staffed by professionals. So if there was a contract on oil and gas, they bring together some oil and gas experts. You go through, you offer a technical opinion to Parliament, and then is the basis on which they scrutinize it. Is it being done in our Parliament? Well, I don't know. We don't have a scrutiny office. We've been talking about it for this. So on what basis do they make all those decisions on these complex issues? We have the issue of the sheer number of people that the president can appoint. Some have described as that we actually have an imperial presidency in Ghana. He's a king in all but name, And in that way, almost all the institutions of state are subservient. Take the police, which
that feeds into the larger conversation about our culture, right?
And our constitution.
So we've created a constitution because of who we are as a people.
No, because even if we created based on our culture, if you move to where the kingdoms and the chiefdoms and whatever, built into those systems are accountability mechanisms. We may not see it from the outside, but even the Asantehene, who appears very powerful and etc., I think within his court and within the system are mechanisms for holding him accountable. But so we have transported that thing about a king, a chief as our head of state. without
building in,
bringing in those accountability mechanisms. And that's what we are where we are. The media could do better. Of course, I mean, wherever you go in this world, you do have media houses that are aligned to parties and etc. But even those that are aligned to parties do their work on the basis of evidence, of facts, and which is why civil society joined with the media in pushing for the Right to Information Act. You know, civil society could do better. Citizens were challenged by the president to be citizens and not spectators. How much have we translated that, you know, into ensuring that a government is accountable to us at the end of the day? And then, of course, the parties don't help, because an issue comes up, and before you realize, they have muddied it up, and then, you know, position the conversations around NDC and MPP. So it is very difficult for you even to put your voice inside, because as soon as you say A, it either ties up with what the NDC is saying or it ties up with the MPP. So some people just say, well, I'll try and just avoid this whole thing, because I don't want somebody to start describing who my great-grandfather was and how he met my grandmother and etc. So they just back off. But we can't allow ourselves to be intimidated out of speaking for ourselves. Else, where are we heading to?
All right. Well, the last conversation we want to have is regarding the National Science and Math Quiz. The story here in the Daily Graphic, I'm going to read from the Daily Graphic. It says, 2020 National Science Math Quiz in danger. Schools complain of inadequate funds. The Conference of Heads of Assisted Secondary Schools, CHAS, says it will be difficult for schools to organize their students for this year's National Science and Math Quiz at the regional and national levels as a result of inadequate funds. We therefore wish to inform management that until adequate funds are made available, schools will not be in a position to participate in the National Science and Math Quiz in any form. A letter signed by the president of CHAS, Alhaji Yakub A.B. Abubakar, and addressed to the Director General of the GES, said, dated February 6, 2020, the letter was copied to all regional directors of education, regional CHAS chairpersons, all zonal CHAS chairmen and chairpersons, and Prime Time Ghana Limited, the organizer of the NSMQ. At the first quarterly meeting for 2020 held at the National CHAS Secretariat on February 8, 2020, the National Executive of CHAS has discussed thoroughly the challenges of the organization of the NMSQ at various levels. After lengthy discussion, we have concluded that it will be difficult to organize the students for the NMSQ at the regional and national levels, it said. It, however, expressed hope that the concerns of CHAS would be addressed quickly to facilitate the smooth organization of the quiz. Now, let me come to you, Yaro. This is very sad where we find ourselves, because in my view, the National Science and Math Quiz not only provided, a very high level of challenge, on our TV, viewing, for people to be entertained and excited and all of that, but also the competition, I believe, also encourages other people, especially younger people coming into the level that the seniors were playing at, to be interested in math and to be interested in science and so on. So if we find ourselves here now, inadequate funds, how did we come to this point? And what can we do to make sure this thing doesn't go down?
Oh, I think that in the heart of this matter is two subjects, math and science.
Okay.
These two subjects fascinate me. I mean, you look at every society that has developed.
Yeah.
They developed on the strength of these two subjects, mathematics and science. very few countries have developed using English, because I know non-English speaking countries who are very advanced, you know.
Yeah.
But in this country, I think we even, you know, peg intelligence to how much, you know, silky English you can speak, you know. But mathematics and science are the hinges on which, you know, society revolve. Yeah. And I think that, for me, I would like to take this out of the, you know, beyond the context of the entertainment and the competition it creates for the children, to look at the interest it whips in the learning of these two subjects. Historically, these two subjects have been the bane of our education. Either we are not teaching it well, or there's something else we are not doing right. The interest just isn't there. So the science and maths quiz has come to whip up the interest, and it's growing. I think we should.
It's not called STEM education.
Yes, I think we should just find the money and do it. Yes. I mean, in this country, when it comes to these things, there's no money. But you hear if there's something else, you know, that the politician needs, immediately we find the money. Yeah. And then, you know, so let's just find the money and sponsor this, so that at least for what it's worth, the interest it generates, you know, in the children to learn science and math, you know, can continue. Yeah. And then beyond the entertainment and the competition, we can look at the strategic value of how math and science can transform our environment. I mean, look around you and see everything that isn't right. You can find its roots in mathematics. You can find its roots in science. And so if we can use these two subjects as the torchlights that we shine into our society, there's a lot more that we can change. I mean, the science laboratories that are supposed to be in our schools are not there. And, you know, even where they are not sufficiently equipped. You know, we should even begin to have mathematics, you know, laboratories, if there's anything like that. A place where children can go and then learn, you know. We need to whip up, you know, this interest. From traffic, waste collection. I don't like calling it waste management, because when you look at the management function, you don't see them when it comes to the waste
management
issues.
Is the dream. That's where we are going.
So, but let's look at how we can use math and science to solve the issue of waste management, traffic congestion. Galamsey, you know, natural resources and everything else are embedded in these two subjects. Let's find the money so that, because this sponsorship, I don't think is anything. I'm sure even if they approach Ibrahim-Tanko's organization, you know, they could make some, you know, monies available. Citi FM can also, you know, support, but government must find the money. I think, you know, when it comes to these subjects, government don't have money, but in other things, we have the money. So let's find the money and do this, so that we can begin to see a certain generation transforming our country using these, you know, two subjects, science and maths.
Your take on this?
Well, I completely agree. I don't know if I misunderstood a section in the article where I think the GES was asking interested schools to come forward or something. And I think if that is the case, and if I'm understanding it that way, it's privileging the privileged schools. Because we've seen in previous competitions, the old boys and girls of the Class A schools come out to organize this and that for the the participants. So we need to ensure that whatever funding mechanism we put in place is equitable.
Okay, so just to put it in context, so prior to the free SHS, right, there was a component of school fees that went to the National Science and Maths quiz.
Okay,
you know, so. From the inception of free SHS, that component does not come from the schools anymore.
But
you know, and that's where the challenge has come from.
Yeah.
You know, so yes, we do. The funding challenges are real. The issue is now, how do we fund? Does government create, you know, a pot of gold somewhere that they take money from that to fund it?
Well, I think first the government needs to step in. But knowing, based on experience, how government-funded pots go, I think it needs to be complemented by, you know, funding from industry. Who benefits, really, when we begin to produce good science, maths, you know, products? I think industry benefits, and it's in the interest of industry, because they keep on complaining, rightly so, that the products that are coming out of the schools and the universities are not fit for purpose, and etc. So put your money where your mouth or your complaints are. Put something into that pot. We as citizens, I would say, well, all students should come in. But again, that then disadvantages certain schools.
Yeah.
So I would say let industry, let government, but also let we the citizens. If we just said anybody who is interested in seeing the maths and science quiz continue, takes 1 cedi, to a certain short code.
I'm sure we could raise quite a bit
I'm
of
sure we
money.
could raise,
Yeah.
So we haven't tried it. Let's try it. So that the years in which governments, because we do know from experience that the first 2 years after every election, the government just tightens the money pipe. Nothing flows out. And if we are going to rely solely on government, we may suffer in those years. So I would say industry come in. Citizens, let's walk our talk. Let's donate. What we may need now is a mobilizing force, a mobilizing point. And so Citi, you've done a lot of similar mobilizations for sick people, for other distance. Why don't you start something around national science? Let's save national science and maths quiz. Donate this thing. You have the credibility. You have the legitimacy. And nobody will think that Citi will take your money and run away with it.
Yeah.
And we'll all contribute our 50% 1 cedi. And you would be surprised that within a month,
How much money we can actually raise.
Yes. So that's a challenge I'm throwing to you.
Well, not me.
You, but who? Who? Is you?
It's beneath my pay grade.
Please, it's you. You take it and then go and tell the person who's paying it. And like you see that now he's shifting.
Well, I'm not necessarily shifting. I think it's actually a good idea. I think it's a fantastic idea for us to even say, like what you suggested. If we say to everybody, regardless of the network that you're on, contribute 1 cedi towards the.
So he has agreed now that it is within his pay grade now.
But you see,
so they will start doing something.
But you see, it's not just as simple as announcing it on air, which is what I would do. I announce it on air, but there's a whole system.
Yes. But it's just a challenge to all of us.
You need to design the governance,
of
it. Get a short code, even see how it's going to be.
How
the whole thing is going to do, and then let's get it moving. And I agree with Alhaji completely on this one, even beyond government and industry. The general public. I mean, they've always, reason to, such, challenges. When you watch social media reaction, when schools are competing there, then,
you can see that there's a lot of passion.
Those of us who attended Amasama Secondary, that we are not there. We just sit back and watching, you have the Prempeh College, the Achimota and what? The Adisadels. And most of these schools have got big men, even in businesses today, who can help with small donations to, resuscitate it. So let's throw the challenge.
All right, fantastic. Well, was joined on the show. Thank you very much, gentlemen, for joining me this morning. I was joined on the show by Yaro Kasambata, who is a lecturer in security and intelligence management at the UPSA, and also to Ibrahim-Tanko Amidu, who is the executive director of Star Ghana Foundation. Thank you very much for watching the news review section.
Hi, I hope you enjoyed the show. Do not forget to subscribe, like, comment, and share with your friends. This is Breakfast Daily on Citi TV.
Join the Breakfast Daily team Monday through Fridays from 7:30 a.m. to 10. Join us for breakfast daily, only on Citi TV.